6 feet.
My name is Carl Etheridge, and I'm Associate Pastor at Harvest Ridge Church, and I get the honor and privilege of leading today's service. At this time, our Brooklyn High School Band is going to be performing our national anthem, so I ask that everyone please remove their hats, place your hands over your heart.
I don't know why you thought of it.
Also turn your attention to our flag post in the garden. For now, our national anthem. Gracious God, I ask you for your guidance and blessing today upon our time of remembrance. We gather here to honor those brave men and women who have given all so that we can be free from oppression and fear. During this memorial service, may our hearts be filled with gratitude toward those we seek to remember. Let this be a sovereign moment as we reflect upon the words that will be shared here shortly. For the men and women who have given all, they didn't do so just for our nation, but they fought for justice and freedom around the world. During this memorial service, may we begin to have a greater appreciation for those who daily put on the Marine, Navy, Air Force, Army, and Coast Guard uniforms. Amen. Amen. At this time, I get the privilege of introducing one of our most amazing and talented students from Brooklyn High School, Corinne Tarver Moore. She's going to be coming and singing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
At this time, the Pride of Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Hurricane Marching Band, will be performing a grand patriotic song. loud enough for everyone? So at this time, the Honorable Mayor Katie Gallagher is coming to introduce our speaker.
Just take a photo of her.
Good afternoon. Well, that's better. I'm definitely not loud enough. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I want to thank the employees who work hard to make sure our parks are clean for today, the Brooklyn Band for coming out every single year, and everybody who participates in the parade. I want to thank Carl Etheridge and our speaker that I'm about to introduce for coming today and speaking, all of our city council members for coming out today, Barb Politsky, Andy Selhertz, Kevin Tansky, Meg Ryan Shockey. But most of all, I want to thank those people today and every day as we honor those men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Thank you for being here to honor these people that we've lost. And thank you for those who have served or are serving this great nation today. I am honored to have one of our own military residents, Rich Hovan, as our today's speaker. Rich Hovan enlisted in the United States Air Force in June of 1966, whereupon he attended basic training at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. He then graduated from tech school at Shepherd Air Force Base, Texas in 1966 as a turboprop aircraft mechanic. Rich was stationed at Elmdorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska from November 1966 to November 1968, at which point he volunteered for the Vietnam War and was sent to Nha Trang Air Base to serve with the 15th Special Operations Squadron Air Commandos and was crew chief on the MC-130E Combat Battalion. While abroad the aircraft Charlie, Rich and his crew took 4 direct enemy rounds on takeoff, one of the rounds narrowly missing him by 6 feet. Rich was awarded the Air Force Commendation Medal and the Air Force Air Medal while serving as crew chief on Charlie until November 1969. He was promoted to Staff Sergeant prior to his discharge. So now, it is truly my honor to introduce former Staff Sergeant and Crew Chief with the United States Air Force, Brooklyn resident, and retired former Brooklyn police officer, currently working as a special police officer here in Brooklyn and who led today's Memorial Day Parade, Richard E. Hovan.
Thank you, Mayor. When I was asked from the mayor's office if I would speak about my service time, I thought about it, and then I actually thought, you know, it's 50 years ago this year that I came home from Vietnam. And I thought, you know, maybe this is an appropriate thing to do. Like most service guys, we don't talk about our service. Probably don't even talk much, even if asked about it. But today's a special day, and I am glad that I have been asked to do this. Second of all, my son, Chris, who's right around here someplace, he's the one who's got the son of a Vietnam veteran t-shirt on. He works for the city as well, and he told me, hey, Dad, don't talk too long because people will be passing out. I said either that or they'll probably be stoning me. So anyway, June of 1966, I pre-enlisted into the Air Force. The Air Force sent me a letter saying, come on down to the federal building. You need to go through your medical examination and do some testing. Well, I did. I followed my orders. I came in, went through my medical examination, And testing completed that, and they said, okay, everybody at the end of the day, they said, line up over here. And all the troops lined up, and one of the troops there says, okay, everybody count off in fives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we did. I ended up with a number like 3. But at the end of everybody making their numbers, this DI says, everybody with a number 5, step forward. So welcome to United States Marine Corps. That's when I found out that they actually did draft Marines. So I stepped up to the DI and I go, hey, I'm pre-enlisted for the Air Force, and you said the rest of the guys are all in the Army. And he says, well, why did you get in line here? I said, because you told me to. That's how I started off my service. Anyway, I went through basic training, completed that. I went through tech school to learn to be a mechanic, or as they call them now, maintainers. I was instructed on how to work on C-130s and C-133s. After I ended my class there, they sent me to a 2-year tour at Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska. And mostly I worked on a turnaround crew on C-141s, and those were taking the troops over to Vietnam and taking them back. They did have some hospital ships that came through that had wounded on, and the wounded were in serious condition and were being brought back to the United States to have better health care. We did have a few C-130s come through, but not many. The ones that did come through, for the most part, were carrying the caskets of our soldiers and military personnel that died over there. I remember looking at some of the caskets and reading those names on there. Some of the caskets had full bodies, some of them just had parts. Makes you think a lot. Near the end of my tour, I decided that I wanted to volunteer for Vietnam. My father, a World War II veteran, made the Normandy invasion and was injured, brought back into Queen Mary. His war was over shortly, 3 days after the invasion. He gave me some fatherly advice. He told me, whatever you do, Rich, don't volunteer for anything. Well, I did. And my parents asked me, did you volunteer to go to Vietnam? And I said, no, I didn't do that. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but the United States Air Force had sent a letter to my family congratulating on their son volunteering for Vietnam. The word was never brought up to me again until I came home from Vietnam. When I was assigned to go to Vietnam, they sent me first from Alaska down to Edwards Air Force Base in California. I took like a week shortened training for jungle training. And the one thing I learned about the jungle training thing is, don't get captured. That's the best thing. The stuff that I learned in 1 week, you kind of forget that stuff. So anyway, I was sent over to Nha Trang Air Base, which ended up to be a place that held the Green Berets, regular Army, my special ops operation, the Air Commando outfit, and they had, on the other side of the base, they had Vietnamese Air Force and Vietnamese Army and Vietnamese Navy. Huge base. Being a new guy, you get the details that nobody else kind of wants. And like the first couple of days I was actually there, they had me doing a pre-flight of the airplane, which it started like at dark. It's 5:30 in the morning. And I remember my first day out there doing this, I see lightning above my aircraft and thinking, oh, they're going to have a storm, they're going to have a tough time getting out of here today. When ends up to be one of my best friends, comes running around the airplane, pulls my headsets off and says, we're under attack, you idiot. It seems that when you have your headsets on with a MD3 generator running, you can't hear these things. That guy was Dave Fitzwater. He is one of my best friends to this day, even though he doesn't even live near me. I was on flight status with the aircraft, so I did a lot of flying with my airplane. And when the airplane came back, I would have, I'm talking multiple hours, 6, 8, 10 hours at times working on the airplane. So there were times that I did not fly with it because I was just too tired. And in March of 1969 was one of those days where I stayed back. They woke me up and said, hey, get a tire and your jack and your tools, get in one of the combat talons, and we're flying you up to where Charlie is at. That's my aircraft. It's up in one of the mountain yards. Got a blown tire. Got to get a tire change. So I did. I flew up there with the other combat talon. They dropped me off, and I was jacking up the airplane, getting it ready to take the old tire off, put a new one on, and I look over, and one of the flight officers is handing me my tools. I thought, this is strange. I mean, they never give us the time of day. Well, I found out why he was handing me the tools. When I got done, as I'm getting ready to get finished, they're starting up the engines, and I barely got into the airplane when we're taking off. And I walked up, got in the cockpit, put the headsets on, and lo and behold, the reason why they were in such a hurry is that this is one of the bases where the enemy took over every night. They started to mortar the runway, and rounds were coming in as we're taking off. I got off the flight deck and got next to the side door and held onto the straps, figuring if we go down, I want to be the first one out of this airplane. So we ended up taking, number 3 engine was taken out with a 50 caliber round, 50 caliber rounds on each wing, and the 4th one missed me by about 6 feet in the fuselage. We ended up flying into Da Nang, which was up near the DMZ zone on emergency, and as we're coming in, I'm looking out and I see Da Nang was under attack. And I thought to myself, this is where we're coming for safe haven? As it works out, we landed, I patched up some stuff, and we got out of there. Went back to our base, where I spent another 18 hours working on the airplane. One of the things about my base, we were mortared every night, just about every night, and every couple of weeks we would get 122 millimeter rockets would be blowing in, and those were pretty bad, but you learn to live with those things. One day on a pre-flight, one of our other combat talents was getting refueled, and the refueling truck engine caught on fire. There was flames up there, maybe 20 feet. And me and a couple other guys ran over to it, and we extinguished the fire before the fire truck could actually get there. And if we wouldn't have did that, and if that fire truck would have exploded, it would have taken out another one of our combat talents. Before I left, we had one of our crews, 11 true heroes, who went up north and never came back. Every day at Memorial Day, I think of these guys, and every other guy that didn't make it back. I left in November of 1969. I came home, was mustered out, and in May of 1970, just a few short months later, I got another letter from the United States Air Force. They said, we want you to come down to the Federal Building. We're going to award you the Air Force Air Medal and the Air Force Accommodation Medal. On the letter, they said I could either come down in full uniform or they would mail it to me. I chose for them to mail it to me. As it seems, and if you all recall, May of 1970 is when Kent State happened. And military guys in uniform weren't appreciated, and especially guys coming back from Vietnam. In closing, I'd like to read this final thought. Memorial Day is the day we set aside to remember with gratitude, appreciation, pride, and respect all those who have served and died for our country's freedom. May your Memorial Day be filled with memories and peace. God bless America. Thank you.
I know that many of us, we have plans with family, but I want to encourage you. I mean, I could have Staff Sergeant, I could have stood here all day and just listened to more stories. And I just want to do a quick thank you to those that have served, that are retired, that, as Staff Sergeant said, mustered out. Thank you for your service. We know that you have your day, but if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have today. So thank you. At this time, I do ask that everyone please stand once again. We're going to be honoring those that have given all, those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, with one of the most fitting tributes that we're able to give at this point. It is the 21 gun salute.
Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Ready? Fire! Please, then. Arm!
Our band will now be performing taps. Thank you to the American Legion 469. At this time, let's close our eyes as the benediction is given. As we prepare to depart from this sacred moment, I ask you, the Creator of all things, the one true God, that you would bring to our remembrance on a daily basis that we are one nation under your divine leadership. The men and women who served and gave their lives, gave willingly, so their families and descendants could be free. Keep us from disgracing the memory and duty of each who died in the line of service since the birth of our nation. I ask that you be with the families of those servicemen and women who have died in the line of duty. Comfort and love them. Lift them up and strengthen them as they face this life without those they loved so dearly. Give grace to our POWs and those who are MIA. For our servicemen and women who have come home wounded and scarred, give peace to their minds and healing to their bodies. We ask that you watch over and protect our fellow Americans who are deployed around the world. Be with their families and meet the needs in their lives. Enable us to pass on to our children and the generations to come that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is ultimately found in you. For all those that are here today, bless them. Let each of them know of your love and come to have a personal relationship with you. May they be encouraged and feel your peace that passes all understandings. It is in your name that we pray, Jesus. Amen. At this time, Mayor Gallagher is coming to close our ceremony.
At this time, I will call the names of the men and women from our community presently serving in the military. I would ask you to step behind the flag, you or your family members, of the branch you are serving in currently or have served in? Sean Bernard, Air Force. Kyle Beck, Marines. Marcy Velasca, Air Force. Ian Joseph Bruzek, Marines. Keith Campbell, Coast Guard. Bill Cole, Marines. Nathan Cole, Navy. William Crane, Army. Douglas Doza, Coast Guard Reserves. Joseph Farragon, Marines. Nathan Fife, Air Force. David Frost, Army. April Gano, Air Force. Matthew Haig, Coast Guard. Jonathan Hale, Army. Nick Hale, Marines. Robert Hennings, Army Reserves. Rich Hovan, Air Force. Ronald Hudak, Army. Daryl Hudson. Kyle Houston, Marines. Todd Jacobs, Army. Brian Kennelly, Air Force. Jason Kinney, Air Force. Kenneth Knish, Army. Joseph Cook, Air Force. Deidre Lego, Ohio Army National Guard. She is currently serving in Kuwait as we speak. Brandon Melvin, Marines. Luke Mendoza, Navy. Mike Newton, Navy. Chris Pamphel, Navy. Nicole Percival Haig, Air Force. Cody Ratliff, Army National Guard. Catherine F. Rock, Air Force. James Rhodes, Navy. Stacy Rhodes Myers, Navy. Dylan Rodriguez, Army National Guard. William Rodriguez, Marines. Luke Roginski, Army Reserve. Walter E. Scharf, III, Air Force. Adam Thompson, Navy. Dawn Marie Wadinsky, Army. Dennis Williams, Army. Richard Williams, Army. Kent Zabodny, Army. And those that have passed away serving our great country. James Brock, Marines, died in Vietnam. Timothy Knight, Marines, died in 2005 in Iraq. Dennis Felton, Air Force, died in 2013 in Italy. Angel Lopez, Army, died in 2013 in Afghanistan. And Lee Vanu, Army, died in 2009. Thank you for your service. Thank you once again to all of those who came out today and honored those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and recognized those people who are serving in our military who have served to make this country terrific. If you have some time, please stop over in our pavilion where our police and fire departments will be serving hot dogs and snacks for $3. This will benefit Shop with a Cop and the Brooklyn Fire Department's Metro Health and Burn Unit. Thank you again for everybody for coming out.